Good morning, welcome back to another video on the channel. So we have reached the final Grand Slam of 2024 with the US Open. Coco Gauff will look to defend her title, but we have a host of players at the WTA that will all look to challenge and win the final major of the year. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to preview 5 standout contenders in my opinion, and then give my prediction on who I think will lift the title in 2 weeks' time. So kicking things off with world number 2, Aryna Sabalenka, who arrives into this tournament in fantastic form, having won Cincinnati last week. We all know by now the capabilities and the skill that Sabalenka has on hard courts, winning 13 hard court titles, winning her 2 Grand Slams, both on hard courts as well at the Australian Open. And at the start of the year, Sabalenka won the Australian Open without dropping a single set, which is pretty much unheard of on the men's or women's side of the game in terms of doing that in a major. And that just exemplifies how dominant she can be on this surface. Last week in Cincinnati, I thought she performed fantastically well. She's had lots of issues with the shoulder recently. In the past couple of months, we've seen a drop off in form. But Sabalenka really returned to form in perfect timing as well, ahead of the US Open. You know, beating Iga Swiatek, Elena Svitolina, Jessica Pegula, all in straight sets, just shows that Sabalenka is now fully over the shoulder issue, physically and mentally, and ready to really attack the US Open and try and win this title for the very first time. In my opinion, Sabalenka is the best hardcore player in the world. When she serves and returns the way she can, follows it up with a first strike, then she's very difficult to stop. And if she gets into a rhythm in the first 2 or 3 rounds, then look out, because there's very few players in the world that can really counter-punch or defend consistently against Sabalenka. We saw Coco Gauff do it fantastically well last year. I feel like it was a bit of both as well. Sabalenka didn't quite play her best in the biggest moments of that match and almost threw it away. But you've also got to credit Coco Gauff. But I feel like the older Sabalenka gets and the more majors and masters she wins, the better she's getting. You know, she's coping under pressure very well. She reacts to disappointment very well now and has really found a way of just performing her best on the court every time she steps on it. And she's going to be a huge threat to everybody at the US Open. Projected draw for Sabalenka, I think, is pretty good. Madison Keys could obviously be a very tricky one. We know Keys is very capable on hard court, especially in America with the backing of the crowd. Then Coco Gauff in the semi-finals, potentially a repeat of last year's final before facing Iga Swiatek in the final. But I feel like Sabalenka is a player that just carries huge confidence. And I think she knows that if she performs at her best, there's nobody in the world that can really stop her on a fast hard court. So Sabalenka is going to be very, very difficult to stop in the coming weeks in New York. Moving on now to Coco Gauff, the defending champion, still just 20 years old, won 6 hardcore titles, including this major last year. And I feel like it's easy to forget how Coco Gauff is. You know, she's going through quite a difficult time at the moment on the court, and that's such an easy thing to happen for a 20-year-old. You know, Gauff was a player that broke through 4 or 5 years ago, aged 15, 16, and she's been an incredible journey. You know, she's a player that's progressed so much. She's already a major title winner. She's already won 6 titles just on hard courts. And she's a player that's got a huge, huge future in the game. You know, I've got no doubt in my mind that she's going to win many more majors and masters throughout her career. And having little blips like this will do her tennis no bad things in the future. I think it's just things to learn on. It makes her progress as a player. And I feel like this is a huge test of her confidence and will to win at this year's US Open. As I mentioned there, she's defending champion. She does come into this tournament in a poor run of form. She's had a string of early exits. I think looking at the reasons for those losses, I think the forehand has been a real issue recently with the huge backswing. It's not always suited to different surfaces. It has broke down a lot in recent matches, and it's something that she will need to fix if she wants to defend this title. I also feel like with Gauff, she's a player that's really built on heart and desire and will and defence and speed. And she's got an incredible mentality where she refuses to give up. In the recent defeats, I've seen her be emotional on court, and I think she's had a very few tough calls from umpires, but just crying on the court and just beating herself up and being down on herself is a player that I think really affects Coco Gauff mentally. I think when Gauff's really dialed in and she's desperate to win, she's got immense desire and great fight on the court, then she's very difficult to beat and knock out of that rhythm. And I feel like she needs to be coming on the court at this tournament really wanting to defend the title and fighting to win. And I feel like if Gauff does that, she becomes a hell of a lot better player. I also feel like for a 20-year-old, we know she's had a lot of hype around her for many years already. And winning that US Open title brings a lot of pressure, brings a lot of eyes to you, sponsorships, money, questions from the media. And it's the same happened with Raducanu. Raducanu hasn't been able to kick on either. And I feel like Gauff has struggled with the pressure at times on the court and hasn't played quite the best tennis and produced the best tennis when she's needed to. But hopefully at the US Open, I'm hoping she walks through the door and puts it all behind her and really wants to fight and defend a title and produce the best tennis, because when she does that, tennis is a better place for sure. Gauff's also played that really fed off the crowd last year in the US, and I feel he could really bring her confidence back. If she can get 2 or 3 good performances and get the crowd behind her, then I think we could see a completely different Coco Gauff to what we've seen in recent months. She just needs to run hard, fight, counterpunch, get those couple of wins that I mentioned, and she becomes a potential champion in this draw for sure. Has also got a very tough draw, in my opinion. Elena Svitolina in round 3, potentially, then Emma Navarro, Marta Kostyuk, Barbara Krejcikova obviously recently won Wimbledon. Arina Sabalenka on a hard court in the semi-final, repeat of last year's final, then potentially Iga Swiatek in the final as well. So no easy feat for Coco Gauff to defend this title, but one that she can do if she's mentally right and has fixed the forehand somehow over the past few months. Moving on now to Elena Rybakina, and Rybakina is a player that I thought would have won more hardcore titles by now with the game style that she's got. She's missed events in 2024 due to physical issues, which has meant that she's lacked consistency. But she is still one of the best hardcore players in the world, in my opinion, with the ground strokes that she possesses in terms of power. The first serve is a huge weapon of hers, and she did win in Brisbane and UAE on hard courts early this year, which just shows that when Rybakina is at her best, she's capable of beating anybody in the world on fast hard courts. When Rybakina does play best tennis, which doesn't happen enough, her weapons are perfect for fast hard courts, but she can become very inconsistent and get down on herself and hit lots of double faults and unforced errors. I did read this morning that she's actually split with her coach, if she's been with 5 years, and I think that could be the best thing for Rybakina. Seen lots of times in matches where she's almost been rejecting the advice of coaches or not looked happy on court with a coach, and I feel like it was a relationship that just didn't work. And I think Rybakina could be a lot happier on court, a lot more relaxed, and we could see better performances from Rybakina because of that. She's a player that I think is one to watch in the first week. It wouldn't surprise me if Rybakina exited this tournament in the second or third round, but equally it wouldn't surprise me if she got to the final. She's that type of player where she can throw in a very bad performance and lose comfortably, or she can play best tennis and run to the final without dropping a single set. So she's certainly one to watch in the draw, but she's got the tools to go very far as well. Moving on now to world number 1, Iga Swiatek, the winner of 12 hardcore titles already, 5 Grand Slam titles, obviously 4 of them being consecutive at the French Open. She did win this title as well back in 2022. I don't feel like Swiatek's been in top form since the Clay season, but it's so easy to understand that. To win Madrid, Rome, Roland Garros back to back is such an incredible feat, but so mentally and physically taxing. It also brings a hell of a lot of pressure, and I feel like Swiatek's not a player that has really performed the best at Wimbledon, but again didn't do that. But I feel like was very fatigued from the clay court season. Then went to the Olympics under immense pressure. She was a huge favourite to win gold for Poland, having the success that she'd had on clay. But Qin Zheng played a fantastic match in the semi-final to knock out Swiatek, but I'm pleased she did win a bronze for Poland, but will not be the medal that she wanted. She then didn't play her best in Cincinnati. She battled very hard, but wasn't at her best and suffered a straight sets defeat to Sabalenka for the first time in her career. And I think that really highlighted the dominance that Sabalenka can have on a hard court against Swiatek if playing at her best. But hopefully Swiatek's had a little bit of a rest, a bit of a reset mentally, and is able to come to the US Open and play best tennis, because she's a fantastic player. And it's always great to see the world number 1, reaching the back end of majors as well. This is a huge opportunity, I feel, for Swiatek. Them 12 hardcore titles, former champion. she's a player that can produce the best in the biggest moments. She's beat everybody in the world multiple times, and she'll undoubtedly be one of the favourites to win this title. But she will be vulnerable if she's not physically and mentally at her best. There's many players in this draw that are very capable on hard courts, and she's been at a tough draw with the likes of Pavlyuchenkova, Samsonova, Mira Andreeva potentially in the fourth round, who's a player that I'm hugely excited about. Jessica Pegula and Danielle Collins. Swiatek's got a very tough draw before reaching the semi-final stage. So if she isn't at 100% best, then she's vulnerable of an early exit. Moving on now to the hugely talented 17-year-old Mira Andreeva, who I think is a player that has got the natural talent to be an absolute superstar in this sport. She's beat Emma Navarro, Carolina Pliskova, Jasmine Paolini at Cincinnati before pushing Iga Swiatek all the way before losing very close in the decider. She reached the semi-final at the French Open early this year, beating Arina Sabalenka. She won a silver medal at the Olympics in doubles. To do all that by the age of 17 is such an incredible achievement. And I feel like Andreeva is such a well-rounded player, and that's what gives her a great chance at these championships. She's got a brilliant backhand down the line, which I feel like is a shot that is arguably the hardest to do in the sport. She's got it dialed already. She's also a very spontaneous player. She said in her interviews that she doesn't really go into the match, not necessarily without tactics, but she just plays it ball by ball, and whatever feel like is the best shot to hit that current moment, that's a shot that she plays. And I feel that it really shows the confidence that she's got in all of her game, and having that variety and the ability to hit winners down the line are huge weapons to have at the US Open, and could be the definitive answer to her progressing to a big stage in this tournament. She's certainly one to watch in the draw, and if you haven't watched Mira Andreeva before, please watch her, because she's an incredible talent and a player that I think is a huge future and can certainly go on to win majors and masters as well. Overall verdict, I think US Open this side, the women's draw is wide open. Majority of the WTA are most comfortable on hard courts. Pegula, Raducanu, Collins, Osaka, and Andreescu. I could have previewed all of them as well, but I'd be here all day. The WTA at the moment is just littered with talent, all chasing their dream, makes for great competition. The fact that we get many different major winners, I think, just motivates all the rest of the players to believe they can do that as well, which creates for great competition. From the top contenders, Coco Gauff, as I mentioned, enters the US Open in poor form, but the US Open, I do feel like, could bring her confidence and fire back, so she's certainly one to watch. Swiatek looked mentally and physically tired at the Olympics in Cincinnati, so I'm not sure if she's in the best shape to lift this title at the moment. Bikina is capable, but definitely unreliable, and hasn't played consistently well in recent months. So I feel like Sabalenka is completely over the shoulder issue now, physically and mentally. She was very dominant in Cincinnati against Svitolina, Swiatek, and Pegula, and I feel that was perfect preparation and having that winning momentum. She's got the perfect game for fast hard courts. She is a recent major winner as well, which makes her experienced, battle hardened. She responds well to adversity now. She's a player that I feel like is improving with age. And if she can turn up and play her best, then I believe she wins this title. So I'm going to go for Arina Sabalenka to win a third major and her first ever US Open title. So thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, if you would like to leave a comment and like, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you would subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic, and support my journey into hopefully working in tennis media one day. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.